Hey everyone, I want to do a quick introduction to this video, which is actually the interview that I did today with Jon Dykstra. And if you've been talking to me either over Facebook Messenger or even in the comments of my videos, I've been working toward this video for the last couple of weeks and I'm super fired up about it. The reason is that Jon Dykstra is, I would say, I guess I'm fangirling a little bit because I would really like to be where he is right now. And so my methodology and strategy is usually to go and find people who are doing online the things that I want to be doing and then just try and figure out what they're doing so that I can do it too. And I was just thoroughly pleased and tickled that he agreed to submit to maybe just asking him all the questions I could think of. And I managed to get him to chat at me for an hour. So if you see how long this video is, that's why it is an hour. And but I just want to give you a couple of the highlights from it. So first of all, it's Jon Dykstra, and he runs the fatstacksblog.com website, and he also has a handful of other websites, and he primarily monetizes them with display ads like AdSense or Azoic or one of those groups, plus some affiliate stuff. And I asked him if he was willing to disclose, what it is that he was earning, before expenses. And the bomb he dropped on me for October. In 2019, in October, he reported that he had earned, the revenue was $46,000. That's right. $46,000. I think I choked a little bit when he told me that. So I hope that you will enjoy this video. It's a fairly calm, Q&A. We tried to have a little bit, of chatter, but mostly it was just me asking him questions and letting him just spill out his brain. I think there's a lot of value in this, and especially for the people who are just getting started this and they want to see, what it is that the big dogs, like what are the big dogs doing? And the takeaways for beginners, I think is really important actually, is that Jon is not super technical, right? He's kind of a tech phobe, which I think is a lot like me. And I think a lot of you out there get really intimidated by all of the things like the plugins and the code and all the things. Like he basically ignores most of that stuff, including link building. And so, you get in there and you see his strategy, and I'll just give you the punchline. Strategy is just publish a lot of content, like good quality content, or even like mostly good content, and just publish a lot of it. Like literally that's his strategy. And it's done really well for him. And it's something that I guess I'm on the path also. And so before I start the queue up the interview, I just want to ask you, and I almost never do this, but I just really want to ask everybody who watches this to give it, a thumbs up, leave a comment or even multiple comments, and watch it all the way through to the end, or leave it on, leave it running through the end, because if you do that, it will help this video reach as many people as possible. I'm also going to tell you at the end again to go sign up, subscribe to Jon's email newsletter if this is a topic you are interested in, because it is really, really awesome. It doesn't cost anything. I don't care if you buy any of his stuff. I'm not his affiliate. And also go and subscribe to his YouTube channel. He is doing a ton of case studies and has lots of plans to do more case study videos, which I think are super valuable. And, again, it's free, so you can go over there and get it anytime you want. And I will leave the links below for you to go. So again, subscribe, like, leave lots of comments, and be kind to me in my interviews. All right. Thanks, everybody. And I'll check back in at the end. Hey, everybody. I'm here with Jon, and I am finally recording. I started that intro like 3 times, and here we go. I'm super excited that you're here. Thank you so much for agreeing to put up with me. I hope by the end of this, you are not completely sorry for having agreed to do this. So, just a little bit about Jon Dykstra. I found Jon in about March of this year when I bought one of his products, and it turns out it was one of the best things that I could have done, because then I funneled myself into his email list, now to his YouTube channel. And I think that he's a great individual to introduce to you, just as someone who is really in the business, really knows what they are doing, and is somebody that you can go to or follow who has legitimate information based upon his experience and case studies. And so welcome, Jon, to our channel. Thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, well, let's just get the introductory, beginner stuff. Like, tell us a little bit about you. Like, what is it that you do? Where in the world are you?
I am in Vancouver, BC. That would be Canada for anybody who knows nothing about anywhere outside of the United States. And well, I grew up here. I now just it's been about 7 years. Been running an online business. I have an office in Vancouver, and just show up every day and keep working on it.
So when you say that you've been in online business for the last 7 years, what are your business models? Like, what are you doing?
Primarily, I focus on, well, I own the sites that I publish, so that's distinguished, say, from working like kind of as an agency business where you serve clients. So I don't do that. I did do that to get started some time ago. I think service businesses are great because I think they're faster to get rolling and you get paid right away. Whereas when you start a site that you're going to own and you're going to monetize, that takes time. That takes time to get some revenue going in. So, but now I have a handful of various websites. They're referred to as content sites, online magazines, niche sites, all the same thing really. And they span a bunch of different topics or niches. And I focus on growing them. Some are far more successful than others. The thing I've noticed is sometimes a site just seems to take off and work and fit my interests and my capabilities. And sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that's just the way it is. I've probably had more failures over the years than ones that have worked out. So in terms of, I liken them to online magazines, not that I equate it to like a people.com in terms of size or anything, but they're ongoing. There's always more to cover within the topic. The topic evolves, and there's always more content to publish. And I monetize them primarily with display ads. And I love working with display ads. It's a great way to monetize a site. I know a lot of people say it's like the worst way you can do it. I totally disagree. We could talk about why, because there's several reasons I like using display ads. And if you look at it, the biggest sites in the world, really, a lot of them use display ads, and they do so because it's effective.
So how long have you been monetizing your sites with display ads?
About 5 years now. I started out I started out with this blogging for a brick and mortar business, and then I evolved and discovered affiliate marketing. So I did affiliate stuff for some time, and affiliate's great. I still do plenty of affiliate stuff. I think affiliate's totally mainstream. I'd say 8 years ago it was a pretty small part of the whole online magazines, but now even the most recognized names, name brand websites and so forth are definitely embracing affiliate marketing. And so I continue doing that, but I think it kind of ties your hands. It really limits you with the type of content that you can publish, because affiliate marketing only really works with certain types of content when there's some sort of buying intent behind it. And when you do get a lot of traffic to something as buying intent behind it, it can be very lucrative, but it really limits really what kind of content you're going to publish, right? So that's where display ads are really nice, because you can pretty much publish on any topic you want and still monetize that content. And so I like that freedom. I like the flexibility to be able to do that. I think it creates better sites as well. So I did affiliate marketing for a long time, and then I started a new site, which is now my biggest site, 5 years ago. And again, it was going to be an affiliate-based site, but it was going absolutely nowhere. But I had traffic, and so that was a little bit baffling. I really thought it would be. I was almost going to throw in the towel, because I thought, it's not working as an affiliate site. But I did, for some reason, have an AdSense account. I can't even remember when I applied. It must have been way before that. Anyways, I had it, and I slapped up some AdSense ads on there, and they performed really well. And so I completely changed monetization strategy, and here I am today.
All right, so then just a concrete example, you said that the affiliate content would be different than the content that you might post on your non-affiliate websites. Can you give us an example of the difference? I think it maybe seems obvious to you, but I think a lot of beginners who are seeing videos like this, and they don't necessarily understand how affiliate content might be different from the content that you were putting on your non-affiliate sites.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's say you're having a site and you want to publish an article. What is aluminum, right? Probably a lengthy article. I don't know the answer, but you're not going to be able to monetize an article with that topic. I mean, you could try adding some links to something with aluminum, right? Tell you that anybody who comes there is not going to buy. They don't care, right? They want to know what aluminum is, and so, but you can put ads on that, and they will earn money. Now, they're not going to be the highest paying ads in the world, but they will provide some monetization and an incentive to publish a really good article on what is aluminum. So you can distinguish that with something that would be more buyer intent. So let's say you publish a footwear niche site, and that can be highly commercial with a lot of buyer intent content, but you can also go very informational. But a buyer intent example would be the best uh, squash sneakers for playing squash. Okay, so you go and you buy 15 pairs of squash, like court shoes or shoes for squash. I use that example. I like squash, and try them all out. And you write your pick. Say, okay, well, I tried 10 pairs. This is my favorite, and you do a big article and you explain why you like it, photos, and the whole 9 yards. So anybody who's going to come to an article via search, typically, that is looking to find out, well, what's an opinion on what's the best pair of shoes for squash. Uh, they have a very strong likelihood that they're going to click through and they're going to buy a pair of shoes because that's what they're looking for. So that's a big difference.
All right, so then maybe a higher level question then is, one of the things we're seeing now with Google is the whole snippet thing, right? The snippets are answering questions, and so people will search something about squash or about aluminum, and the question that they may have searched for is answered right there in Google without having to click and go into the article. And so I wonder if potentially some of these sites that are posting a lot of informational content are losing traffic because of the snippet. Have you seen that in any of your sites?
Is probably happening for sure. I haven't really tracked it, but I'm sure it's happening. I think it's happening big time. And I think with this evolution, with where Google's going, we don't know how far it's going to go, right? We don't know whether ultimately Google's going to keep all the traffic from Google search. That would be pretty catastrophic for most publishers, and we cross our fingers it's not going to go there. I could say my traffic continues to grow, so despite, and I do get a lot of content that shows up as snippets, but despite that, traffic grows. So far, it's all good. But yes, I mean, something like a question like what is aluminum would probably be a type of article that visitors would probably not click through because I'm sure you could answer that in a couple of sentences. So you bring up a very good point when you're thinking about articles you want to publish is they should probably require a fairly in-depth explanation or write-up or something where a snippet's not going to do it justice. And so somebody would be like, I think the snippet could be the selling feature would be like, okay, well, it looks like this site is, or this article is hitting the main points, but it's not answering everything. So I'm going to go into the article. So it could be viewed as an opportunity to actually get a higher click-through rate, but well, a real simple example is like I like you need a stopwatch, right? And you type stopwatch online, right, in Google or something. Well, it used to be you'd have to go to a website that had this embedded or coded stopwatch, and you could use that. Well, now Google just offers its own stopwatch. So any site that did that, that's not going to work. Or what is today's date? Or how old is so and so? These are all the entire answer shows up in the snippet. So those aren't really good topics to be covering. So it really needs to be more involved. The aluminum one is an interesting example because I think it's one of those that could go both ways, right? Like somebody might be just looking for, well, what materials or whatever makes up aluminum, and they just want a short answer. But then there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to know a lot more about it, and they're looking for more than just a quick answer. So that's one of those borderline topics.
It seems like with the snippet, when you talk about that being an opportunity, as far as click-through rate or to capture traffic, that maybe you could combat that with your headline potentially, or even the URL. So if it was something that captured people, it wasn't just, you know, what is aluminum, but something extraordinary about aluminum where you just happen to answer the question, what is aluminum? I mean, that might be a way to gather that traffic and prevent people from just clicking away to the next thing.
Totally agree. I think the strongest way to encourage people to click through to the article would, yeah, like you say, with the title, and to indicate that there's a lot more to the answer or to the information sought than what can be provided in the snippet. So
awesome. Well, I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and I realized that I skipped this in the beginning, but this is something that everybody wants to know, and you have to have this to be, you know, people want to know what your results are, right? Can you give us any sort of ballpark figure for what it is that the revenue your sites are earning on a given month before expenses?
oh, right. Well, yeah, it's a timely question. I just wrapped up October income report, so I can give you October 2019 figures. Just for the 7 niche sites that I track for this purposes, I own a couple more, and then Fat Stacks is a totally separate thing, so I don't talk about that. But for the 7 niche sites that I profile in my income report, so it's about 46,000 US for October. So that's on the high side. It's not every month, but it's been growing nicely this year. So October turned out to be a very good month.
So $46,000 a month.
Yes.
In display ad.
Mostly not. Well, there is some affiliate stuff there.
Okay.
All right. I would say approaching 10,000 in affiliate, and then about 36 in display ads.
Whew. When you started this, did you believe that you would be able to earn that amount of money a month?
Yes and no. I still believe there's really no earnings ceiling when it comes to this. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but there are a lot of sites that do way more. I mean, it's just a matter of traffic and traffic and traffic. That's it. And doing some smart monetization on the site. So I believe it can go way beyond that, and I always did. But at the same time, when I started out, my goal was 15,000 a month. I thought that would provide a very decent standard of living and would meet my needs, and that was my initial goal. And well, I got there and just kept going.
So how long did it take you to get to your initial goal of 15,000 a month?
Well, not long, because before I focused on organic search, I would say 5 years ago, I actually bought a lot of traffic. Right? So there was once upon a time, and where a thing called ad arb was big. Okay, ad arb is really ad arbitration, and there were lots of people doing it, and that was primarily because Facebook ads were very, very cheap at the time. And you could buy Facebook traffic and actually profit from display ads on a site. Now, it wasn't like for every article, it was for certain types of articles, but it worked really well. It was consistent enough that you could actually really scale up quickly. And so I actually really built up one of my niche sites very quickly as a result of that. Eventually, the margins narrowed to where it didn't really work. Primarily, Facebook ads have increased very quickly over the last few years, and they're just too expensive. That's not to say it can't be done. I do know people that are managing to do it, but it's a lot harder. So I did manage to scale that up to 15 and quite a bit beyond that fairly quickly with the site.
So when you say the ad, you said arbitration. Did you mean arbitrage? I think that's what I. So Facebook.
Did I say arbitration?
Yeah.
My old legal background, I guess, default to that. Now, arbitrage. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure. And so the model was you would have a Facebook ads manager account, and you would have your website that had your content there. It's like one of those sites where you have, like, people have to click through like 25 times to see all of the content on the page. Like one of those deals where it's like 22words.com and the spookiest ghost you never heard of that lives in your shoes or something, that the click with a really clickbaity topic.
Yeah, and they're still going. I mean, you got lots of those ads like on CNN and via Outbrain and so forth. So it's still a viable model. The thing is, it still works. And I'm sure if I put enough time into it, I could make it work. I think anybody could. It's just a matter of testing. But the thing is, I kind of what happened as a result of all that traffic. I was buying a lot of traffic, and I had pretty good on-site metrics, and all that traffic actually really helped. I believe the SEO of the site, and so what started happening is my organic search traffic started growing fairly quickly and was hitting pretty good levels after about 2 years of that. So I really started focusing on the search engine traffic. I knew the ad arb was going to, it's a fickle approach to this, right? And so you might have a good month, you might have a bad month. You could actually lose a lot of money doing it. So everybody's watching this, don't just run out and start buying towards the traffic because you can lose money very quickly. So I started focusing on organic traffic. And the other interesting thing is I kind of explored selling the site when the ad arb was really working well. What was interesting is brokers told me, you could sell it, but you're not going to get anywhere near as much money for it as if all that traffic was organic.
Mm-hmm.
The site buyers typically, and it makes sense, right? Because organic traffic is generally passive, and there's a lot more value to that. Whereas when you're buying traffic, it's constant management. So that was an interesting thing to be told. It's like, oh, okay, organic traffic is a lot more valuable, and ultimately we want to sell these sites down the road, right? I mean, we enjoy the current monthly revenue, but at the same time, they're tremendously valuable, especially if it's mostly organic traffic. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm getting some pretty good search traffic, so I kind of shifted gears and really started focusing on that, and I've just been growing that ever since.
Well, let's talk about your, I guess, your website content strategy. And I was going through some of your old blog posts on FatStack's blog, and I came across sort of, this is your technical term. It's called crank and bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about crank and bank. Is this your content strategy still, and what does that mean?
Yes and no. Everything evolves. All right. So crank and bank would be it's sort of like a tangent of. I'll tell you the overarching strategy that I have used, and I still use to this day for years. And I focus on long tail keywords with low competition, with some search traffic, but not a whole lot. All right. And the reason I do that is I'd rather rank an article without having to go do a whole bunch of promotion and link building and all that. I don't do any link building. I attract links, but I won't build them. And I'd rather publish more articles that get less traffic, but can rank fairly easily, than focus on a couple of articles that would potentially pull in a lot of traffic each. Okay, so the crank and bank concept is kind of a tongue-in-cheek version of it. Because if you're going to get a lot of traffic ultimately, and you're looking for the low competition, lower traffic keywords and topics, you just have to publish a lot of it. All right, so that's what I do. I do publish a lot of content. That's not to say it's bad content. That's not to say all my content is excellent. I mean, sometimes bad stuff gets through, and it could be a lot better. But generally, the quality's good. Probably I invest more than is necessary for the competition level of the keywords I target, because I really want to nail those. I want to rank for those as easily and as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And so that's been my overarching strategy. I think it's a great strategy for newer bloggers because it's very hard to rank for a high competition article. And I think also when you go long tail, you happen to cover more obscure topics and you go in depth. And that's an opportunity to attract links, because if you write about something that nobody else is really covering well, and instead it happens to rank merely by accident because it's a sub topic in a longer article, but your article covers it entirely and it's in depth and it's well done. Other sites are going to link to you because you're essentially the only website that covers that topic. So there's a lot of benefits for that model, and for those reasons, I continue doing it. I still don't look for the big high search volume keywords, the ones that, with the potential of 50,000 searches a month or anything like that. In fact, I don't even think I rank for anything close to that. Not accidentally, not intentionally. I just go for the long tail, low competition, and crank it up.
So can I ask you about site one? I think of site one as like your big earner site, the one that makes up probably the most of what your display ad income is. Can you tell me how old that site is and sort of the timeline of when you got content up? Because I'm kind of imagining that maybe you started a new site on a clean brand new domain and then uploaded, so many articles in a certain amount of time. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. It launched in February 2014, so it's about 5.5 years old right now.
Mm-hmm.
It was a brand new domain. I didn't buy an existing site or expired domain or anything like that. And it was slow going at first, and I did everything for it. I think in a good week I would publish 3 articles because it's long. Here's a tip for everyone watching this: you want to make more money from your content, make it long. And I use a lot of images, and images can add one image can add 600-700 pixels in length to an article, right? So that means more scrolling time on your content, and that makes a huge difference on your ad RPM. So easy tip to get more ad revenue per 1,000 viewers. So they were long. Getting the images was a lot of work, uh, and slowly but surely I built that up. And it wasn't too long after that, a few months, I swapped from the affiliate strategy to the display ad, and shortly after that, started buying the traffic. And the whole display ad and buying traffic, that was all accidental. That was not set out in the plan. My plan was, because what I had always done were more affiliate-oriented sites. That's what I had done, and but things change, and I'm more than happy to change strategies when it makes sense to do so.
I'm going to take you back to what you said about adding images just to make sure I understand. You said that it's great to make sure that you add lots of images to a post because it increases the length of time that people are on the page, right?
Correct.
Now, why is that important?
Because you will be able to just have more ad impressions. The longer your content, the more ads you can actually fit in without it like being ridiculous. And you're also going to, because a lot of ads, especially if you use header bidding networks, they're going to do a refresh. So they're going to, like, instead of show, especially like your sticky ads, right? The sticky in the sidebar that floats there as the scroller goes down, or the ones you see now over content, desktop, and of course on mobile. The longer those ads are on the screen, you're going to get more refreshes and longer exposure time. And that adds to the value of those ad slots. And advertisers know that, and they're going to increase the bids on those. So that's why. There's probably other reasons. There's probably a lot of technical aspects to all this. And while I do earn quite a bit from display ads, and I've used a lot of ad networks, and I'm fairly adept at like monetizing sites with it, I actually don't really understand all the tech behind the scenes. I've never investigated, never asked them. Not really interested. So these are my suspicions as to why longer content ranks. But it really does. It makes a big difference because I own a number of sites, and not all my sites have content that long, and the ad RPMs aren't anywhere close. Now, there are other factors that go into the value of an ad slot as well. I mean, the niche is important, the country where the visitor is important, device matters. I mean, you're going to usually earn more on a desktop than you would on a mobile device, but definitely time on site, especially on a particular URL, will contribute to a higher RPM.
So site number one, how much traffic is that site getting on a monthly basis right now?
It's around 1 million, little tad over 1 million visitors.
Just like a million, like
I
just
know,
drop that there, like just a million. Like,
it sounds like a lot, but I'll tell you, there are many sites that do get far more than that. It's probably still a mid-sized site, amazingly. So I'm not sure if that's correct.
And how many articles do you have on this site that pulls in 1 million visitors a month?
3,500.
3,500. All right.
Maybe 36.
And what percentage of that content would you say that you created yourself versus outsourced?
That's a good question. 400.
So you created 400 of those articles yourself and the rest was outsourced?
Maybe not that many, maybe 300. Yeah,
So,
10%.
but the
10%.
majority of it is outsourced then.
Yes.
Why do you outsource articles?
Why do I outsource it?
Mhm.
Saves me time, do other things. If I didn't, I would probably manage one site and I wouldn't publish, between 2 and 4 articles a day,
Mhm.
which I'm able to do now. Some days I publish maybe one. It kind of varies, but it just helps me to be able to do more. I wouldn't, Bad Stacks wouldn't exist if I didn't outsource, and that's kind of a fun blog for me.
Mhm.
I enjoy doing it, but yeah, it's really be able to get more done. Outsourcing comes with a cost, though, because you lose control of the site. Lately, I've become a lot more hands-on and putting more time into it. I'm actually really editing and vetting content more carefully. I kind of go in these cycles, so it'd be like a few months where I'm just sort of like hardly even look at the site and just sort of let the outsourcers handle it, and then I don't know, you start noticing some mistakes, and it's like, well, I better dive back in and get the quality control under control. And so right now, I'm sort of really hands-on with it. So it is taking more of my time.
Well, I have to tell you that I have really appreciated your like numerous times in your blog and also in your emails where you talked about outsourcing and the various places you approach to get content. And I was wondering if you could talk about maybe or recommend a good place for people who are just starting out, like which of these services like Texten or iWriter or Content Development Pros, like what is kind of a good place for these people to start? Like where should they start?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's two angles to outsourcing. One would be whether you want a virtual assistant. That's not necessarily a writer, but that would probably not be the first thing to outsource if you're starting and you're doing a content blog. But really, as soon as you can outsource, the first thing that would be paying for content. Okay, and there are a lot of options, and I have tried many, but I certainly haven't tried them all. Okay, but here's the thing you got to know: you really do get what you pay for. Okay, so and I have learned this over and over, and I have fallen, for hoping that, hey, the cheap stuff's going to result in the best stuff, and it's just not the case. That's not to say that paying less for content is a bad idea. Here's the thing: it really depends on the article, right? So if you need something that's super well researched and it's pretty technical, or it's very sort of requires a lot of expertise in a particular niche or industry or something like that, you really need to think about paying 10, well, let's say 8 cents per word on the very low end, and upwards to 15, 20 cents a word. That would be quite high. Okay, that's not like I'm not saying I pay that like routinely, but depends on the level of expertise. And you can hire, you probably want to take the time to hire somebody with that expertise, be it through like a outsourcing site where you find writers like Freelance or Upwork, or the Pro Blogger job board can get some really good people. Even Craigslist, you can hire people. You could contact local universities and look to hire students there who have expertise. And then the other sort of the big content mill, if you will, that has some really good expertise would be Writer Access.
Mm-hmm.
You can find really, really good experts there, qualified, like master's degree, PhDs in particular areas, law degrees, medical degrees, so forth. So you can get some good experts, but you're going to pay for it. All right, don't expect to pay 4 cents a word and then get a lawyer writing your articles for you. It's not going to happen. All right, but so now let's say you're doing a simple listicle, right? And it doesn't require a lot of expertise. It's really just sort of eye candy, and you're going to have a lot of images, which are really going to do that, which is really boils down to most of the content, or some sort of simple social media roundup, which we see a lot all the time. Like, oh, look at this Twitter feed, and covers this topic and that sort of thing. You could go with the lower cost outfits, and I still use them for these reasons because there's really not much research involved. So you mentioned a few. Well, I don't use iWriter, but some people do and get good results. But I do use Text Broker, Content Development Pros a little bit. Used to use them a lot more. What are some other ones? Usually Text Broker right now is what I'm using. You mentioned a Textune. Textune's good. It's lower cost, and so be realistic with what to expect. But I use them for quite a while. They generate some good stuff for the money. And then if you want really interesting content, I actually hired a full-time in-house writer a couple of months ago, maybe not that long. And I'm paying quite a bit, but she does more of an editorial type stuff, like opinion pieces, just spark engagement. There's a lot of research involved, and most important is the writing is really, really good, like funny, uh, witty, interesting, controversial, well researched, that sort of thing. And she has a whole column on the site. She's got an author profile and that sort of thing. So that's a whole different concept altogether. That would be an in-house writer. That's working out quite well. So those are kind of your options for outsourcing. Really, though, you get what you pay for. And so if you're in a highly technical niche, you're better off to publish fewer, less often, and focus on better quality content. But if you're doing some sort of listicle site where it's just eye candy, and you can probably go with a lot lower cost.
I want to cycle back around because I had a chance to think a little bit while you were talking about outsourcing, about back to your comment. For some reason, I'm stuck on this, just the technical aspects. You talked about adding more images to pages, because then it would give you, and also, producing a lot of content, right? You said, oh, well, it'll give you opportunities to put more ads on the page, and you'll just kind of earn more when you have all these things. And one of the things that I have noticed in my own sites is that sometimes when I have too many ads on the page, that the ad won't fill, or that potentially my worry is that having too much inventory available on the page, that the cost per click can be driven down. And I've seen some articles that talk about reducing the number of ads on page to try to make more from the clicks that you might be getting through AdSense or something that's a cost per click method. And so do you have any thoughts about how many ads is too many? And even though you might have lots of content on the page, and that it wouldn't be harmful to the user experience to see another ad, that it can be a good idea just to stop putting ads on?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't know what the magic formula is, and that's why recently I have switched over to Azoic. Okay, and they have a computer that figures it out for me. All right, so they basically, you load in like literally like 50 or 100 ads and put them on all over the page, and what Azoic will do will just display the ads that ultimately result in the best revenue for you. Okay, so that solves that problem, and I've had tremendous results with Azoic, and for that reason, because it takes the guessing game out of it. Now, I do know where to put placeholders. So if you're new to this, that definitely helps. But, really just load them up everywhere. And Azoic's not the only game in town. It's the one I'm using for all my sites right now, and they have a lot of other nice features. But other outfits like Mediavine, I believe, now I've never used Mediavine and I've never used AdThrive, but I know a lot of people who use them. And I think they have a similar concept behind it. Essentially, they will ultimately display the ads, the number of ads, the placement of the ads in a way that will optimize your revenue. So you don't have to worry about any of that, right? So that's really nice. And it's great that these outfits are there, because like 5 years ago, they weren't. It was sort of like trial and error with AdSense or with whatever ad network you're doing, and you never really knew. But I think if you use, one of those three, at least for sure, there are probably others out there. They're going to figure it out for you, so you don't have to worry about that.
What are the minimum requirements to get approved for Azoic? Do you know?
Pretty low. I think, don't quote me on this, I think it's 10,000 visitors per month or page views. So it's pretty low. And like if you get don't worry about it if you're not there. Like even if you were on, you're probably not going to make a whole lot of money with the 10,000 per month, but it's something like that.
Well, just interesting.
I know AdThrive and Mediavine have much higher thresholds. And again, I've never used them. I've talked to colleagues who use them and are very happy with them. And they have a similar concept. It's not exactly like Azoic. I think Azoic testing is a little bit different, but I think ultimately the three of those will work on your site to basically earn you as much money as possible.
Yeah, I think Mediavine is 25,000, and I think AdThrive is 100 a month, 100,000. So I have some questions from the folks that that do watch the channel because I had posted a video asking for people to either message me questions or to put them in the video. And my friend John Davis, and John, I'm calling you out for this question when you watch this because you crack me up. John desperately wants to know, with your training experience, what do you think about this? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes. So is a hamburger.
Thank you, John Davis, so much for your question. All right.
So far.
Oh, what is a frolic topic?
Frolic topic. Yeah, okay. I try to be a bit tongue-in-cheek on Fat Stack, so if you go there and you see some weird things, I'm trying to add some levity to what is often, I think, far too serious of a business. But anyways, a frolic topic is this, all right? You start a site, you have a plan, and you're gonna focus on a particular topic, and things are going, and maybe things aren't going as the way you wanted it. And then what you do is you publish something a little bit different. I'm not saying you go completely outside of your niche or vertical, but you cover something different that you haven't covered before, and lo and behold, it performs really well. And you sort of went outside the plan of your website, right? And I've done this a lot, and now I make it a practice to throw some really different stuff on there. Now it still would fall under the umbrella of the topic of the site, right? The vertical, but it's different than anything that's on there. So yeah, and because you never know how it's going to perform. And the reason I did that actually is going back is one of my biggest niche site is I was kind of like going head to head with a lot of the other sites out there. We're all kind of doing the same thing, and it worked for the ad arbitrage that I was doing. So that was kind of primarily why I did it. And while SEO was sort of taking off, what I sort of realized was that a lot of the stuff that many people in the industry in the niche were doing was sort of like, well, this is kind of silly, right? Why would I do what other people are doing? Why don't I create something different? And I'm not saying my site's revolutionary, but I thought, why don't I cover some topics a little bit differently within the niche? And that's what I did. And those worked really well. That was a surprise. That was a sort of an aha moment with being a content publisher. It's like, try to think a little bit outside the box within your topic and do stuff differently. And I continue to do that to this day. So that's a frolic topic. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work. Right? If they don't work, so be it. But if they do work, it gives you a whole other angle and direction for your site.
Changing gears here really quick then. Looking forward at trends that you may be anticipating or thinking, what are you preparing your sites for in the future? Like, what's coming? What are you preparing for?
Sounds like, what do I think are like threats coming to the industry,
or maybe opportunities.
Opportunities. Well, it's a good question because it changes so quickly. I have to tell you, I've never been one to see ahead of the curve. I've jumped on curves at pretty good times and have done pretty well, like the ad arbitrage and the whole Facebook back when reach was good. I did well with that. I don't know. I think there's talk about the whole Google snippets thing, like ultimately people will never leave SERPs, but I don't know if that's going to happen to the extreme. I think publishers, there might be a bit of like Google is sort of the most powerful entity on the web, arguably. But even that, I mean, at the end of the day, everything they offer essentially is a result of somebody else publishing that information, right? It's kind of like the ultimate business, of course. So I don't know. I don't think it's potentially catastrophic. Beyond that, I can't really see it. I mean, I think artificial intelligence is obviously going to have a huge impact in everything we do. How that happens, like, are we even going to need writers down the road? I don't know. These are questions I don't know. I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. I just sort of focus on what's working now. So
that's all right.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not much of a crystal ball guy.
That's okay. Somebody asked that question and I wondered. Another kind of technical question, and you see this like scaremongering on Facebook groups a lot, about people getting threat letters from people who are asserting ADA, like legal action, the Americans with Disabilities Act, or because your site may not be ADA friendly for people who are blind or for whatever else. Like, are you doing anything with your sites at all to to avoid having people threaten to sue you because your site isn't set up for someone who's blind?
Well, not intentionally, so I'm not even sure if I'm doing it correctly.
I mean, I'm not doing anything either. I just see people posting in their Facebook groups like, hey, I just got this threat letter and here they come. And I just don't know anything about it. So I was wondering if you did.
The only thing I know that, and I do this, is to write like text that describes a photo in the alt text. And I typically do that. But aside from any other practices, I'm not aware of anything to be done. So if I received such a letter, well, I guess I have to go talk to a lawyer. I don't know.
All right. No, it's okay. I'm challenging you a little bit because, you know, I don't expect you to know everything. I don't know everything, but it's fun to ask someone else these questions and see, like, I don't feel so lost sometimes when I see that because I look to you as somebody who knows what they're doing. And if you don't know, then I don't feel so bad.
No, I would, anybody who, you know, who's ever listening to this, and if that's your question, anytime you get anything from a lawyer threatening anything, go talk to a lawyer. Like, that's the best advice. That's all I could really say. I mean, that's what I would do. And I used to practice law. I don't now, but I used to. And if I got such a letter, I would go get legal advice.
Did you know that that's something we actually have in common?
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So
lots of us out there.
Yeah. So I saw one of your articles on FatStacks where you talked about the 10 worst blogging tips that you ever foolishly followed. And that is the basis for this question, is what is the worst advice that you got for your online business that you followed?
Display ads don't make money. You'll read it everywhere. But that's written by people who are in niches where affiliate and other monetization opportunities are far better. Mm-hmm. What they don't know is they don't publish other types of sites, right? So they don't know. They have no idea. And it's one thing. I don't have a problem with anybody saying, hey, display ads aren't the best way to monetize a site for a particular type of site, right? And if you say that, that makes sense. But to just make blanket statement like, if don't even think about AdSense, don't apply, don't ever use it because it's just the ultimate, it's the worst, is it's misleading, and it does influence people. It did me. Like I really did actually avoid even thinking or entertaining display ads on websites that actually had a decent amount of traffic, just for that reason. And I focused on the affiliate stuff. And so that was, and for years too, actually. It wasn't just for a short while, it was for years. So that would be the worst bit of advice and biggest mistake I made.
Another statement, or just some of your, you can tell I went at FatStacks blog and went through a whole bunch of posts because I just think those blog posts are so interesting and I think they're so valuable, and it gives me a chance to ask you about them and let you talk about them. SEO is like whack-a-mole.
Yes.
Why is SEO like whack-a-mole?
Well, it's a bit of a pessimistic view of SEO, but it's sort of like, sometimes it feels like one step forward, two steps back, right? Like the search engine, Google, basically, that's the only one that matters, is constantly changing, right? And it's sort of like we're scrambling and we're constantly trying to follow in with best practices. And it's hard, right? It's sort of like, oh, okay, we did this, pivot, do that, made those changes, and all of a sudden, oh, now we've got other problems to deal with. Now we're doing something wrong. And it's just like, it's constantly trying to address these little things we have to either fix or do differently, and so on and so forth. I think ultimately it's good. I mean, Google is the dominant search engine because they didn't, sit on their 2008 algo and never make a change again, right? They have constantly evolved it, and it is the most, I think it's the best search engine. I use it, so. But it is like whack-a-mole. It can be very frustrating for us publishers who have to deal with the constant changes. And it's worse for anybody who's ever victim to any of the major updates, right? Like, I mean, I got hammered with the 2012 Google Penguin, and rightfully so, because I did the link building that Google didn't like, okay? I did it because it worked, and it worked really well. But I got hammered, and so be it. While I didn't like it, I wasn't, I understood. But my sympathies go out to anybody who was victim to the Medic update.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're now a little bit past a year before that sucker struck. And unfortunately, it didn't impact me. But what I really don't like about that is the randomness of it. It just, I don't think I've read an article where anybody's been able to identify exactly what it is that Google is targeting on those. Because as far as I know, really good sites got pummeled in that update. And it just seems so random, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why some sites in particular niches thrived after and some got pummeled. And getting out from under that update is nearly impossible. Some have managed, but it's just one of those things. I think it's the only update I look at and I say, it just doesn't really make sense. The other ones all do, like the Panda stuff, I get it. The thin content stuff, some of the other ones, they all, anything dealing with link building and so forth, I totally get that, makes sense to me. But that's the one that I just sort of like, that's a head scratcher. So, yeah, I mean, for anybody who got hit by that, that's a major game of whack-a-mole. But we're constantly trying to figure things out, stay up to date. Now we've got all the schema markup, right? And while I do some of it, I'm probably not doing what I all should be doing, and I don't even know how to do it. And yet, we there's probably some people out there I could hire, but it just keeps adding to the plate.
Okay, well then this is kind of a neat opportunity to, tell people who are just getting started, who may be seeing stuff about schema and you have to do schema. You're telling me that you have a website that has over 1 million visitors a month and you aren't building links and you're not really messing with schema.
Correct. Well, okay, no, I do some schema, all right? The theme I use has built-in schema markup. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that means, all right? But I can tell you it does, all right? So maybe I've got that covered, maybe I don't. What else do I do? I recently started doing schema markup for frequently asked questions that I put into some content, not all, a very small percentage of it. I actually did that just as more of an experiment, but I think it's a good idea. And Matthew Woodward and Neil Patel wrote really good posts. You just Google like FAQ rich snippet schema markup and then put in their names. They've got really great step-by-step tutorials on how to do this. And if I was able to follow and actually make it work, I actually have schema markup FAQs that show up in the SERPs, so it worked. And when it comes to code, I'm a disaster. It never works for me. So check those out if you're interested. So that's the only thing I'm doing, and it's thanks to those guys who published those posts that I was able to actually implement. For the rest of it, okay, there's the other thing, reviews, all right? But review plugins, like if you review a product and then you can add your little star rankings and all that and put that in there. I use my theme shop's WP Review Pro plugin. It's because I use my theme shop themes, so they integrate nicely. But anyway, I think a lot of those review plugins also have built-in schema markup for review type content. So for me, that's a no-brainer. I don't have to code anything. I just basically use the plugin. But beyond that, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, that brings up then a good segue to the next question. You talked about Neil Patel and Matthew Woodward. I mean, who are you learning from? Because everybody I know who's successful online is continually learning and continually finding other people to either mentor them or help them get to the next stage in their journey. Like, who are you learning from?
I like SEO stuff. I read Search Engine Journal daily. I think it's a great sort of way to just stay on top of the latest stuff that's coming out. Matthew Woodward has some epic articles about SEO. I don't implement everything, but the the degree to like how he steps you through how to do some of the technical stuff is really, really good. Neil Patel, of course, has some pretty good ideas out there. Authority Hacker, I think those guys have some fantastic articles on a variety of topics. I've learned a lot from there. Who else? Doug Cunnington has some really good stuff on being an Amazon affiliate. He does the, I think, 5-figure niche site stuff. Anything affiliate stuff is good there. I don't really visit a whole lot of blogs. Here's the thing. When I need to know how to do something technical, I seek this stuff out. I think that's how I got onto Matthew Woodward. I've read his stuff for years, but I'm also very judicious about what I read because we're all easily influenced. And sometimes you read something, it's like, oh no, I got to do that. And you're like, I stop everything and I do something that probably not necessary. And it takes up a whole week. So now I'm pretty judicious about what I read and focus on really what I'm doing because it's working what I'm doing. So,
why do you loathe page builders?
oh, because here's the thing, all right, they structure a lot of content in columns, right? So you could create, like, they look great. It's not that they don't look good, but you create columns, right, with content. And what happens when you do that, if you use ads on your site and you set your ads to show, like, let's say after the 10th paragraph or after the 10th image, which is what I do with the ad inserter plugin. What happens is it injects those ads into one or the other column or the third column, and everything gets completely messed up, right? Everything's crooked, and it's a total disaster. And I'm really grateful I never, like, because when they first hit the scene, like, they were the thing, right? It's like, it was almost kind of like the answer to making regular blog posts look amazing, and they can do that without question. So everybody was, including myself, jumped out, bought a page builder, started making my articles look really great. It took a long time. That's my other problem with it. Like, I ain't got time for that anymore. But anyways, and then after I did like 3 or 4 of them, I went in and I looked, and then the ads were injecting, and they were total disasters. So fortunately, I stopped at about that point. I may have done a few more, but they wreak havoc with ads. If you use them and you insist on using them, the way to avoid too many problems with the ad placement is to only use one column. Do not create multiple columns. That will save you a lot of hassle. The other thing I don't like about it is they take a long time. I really don't have time for it. I don't think for your regular blog posts, they're really going to enhance the site enough to warrant all the time.
All right, well, I've kept you here on this thing for about 45 minutes, so we're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about FatStacks, just your products and courses. I already told everybody that I bought your course earlier in this year. I thought it was really affordable, and I'm not an affiliate, so I'm not telling anybody to go buy it because I'm going to make money. I legitimately liked it, and I don't even think that you're selling the course that I bought in the spring right now anyway, the Black Room Blog Profits course. Yeah, I don't know that that's available right now.
That's discontinued.
Why?
Because I set out a new strategy. Black Room Profits course was sort of like everything in the kitchen sink. Mm-hmm. I just kept adding to it. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm doing this. Add it, another module. Add it, another module, and then.
That's why I liked it.
Pardon?
That's why I like it.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so. There's multiple reasons. First, I buy courses too. I buy big courses and whatever. And often I'll buy a course because I just really want to figure out like 1 or 2 things that are mentioned on the sales page. And I don't want to wade through 35 hours of videos to try to figure out the one thing, right? And I don't want to pay $497 for the one thing. So what I did is I now just sell smaller courses. I typically call them deep dives, okay, or concentrations on very specific topics. So if you took all the courses together, I still have to roll a bunch more, but if you take them all together, it would be akin to one of these mammoth sort of $997 courses that throws everything in the kitchen sink and A to Z sort of thing. I break it up so you can pick and choose. Um, can't please all the people all the time. I've had a lot of people say, hey, I really like it because they're pretty cheap, and I only really wanted that one course, and so I didn't spend a fortune on it. Other people are like, well, I like all your stuff, I want to buy them all, but now it adds up to a lot of money. And yeah, if you buy them all, it kind of adds up. But that's why. It's easier for me to update too. I, they can get to be these huge things and long videos and so forth. I try to keep everything in sort of really bite-sized chunks. So that's all. And from a business strategy, I'll say it's actually been quite a smart decision as well.
Yeah. So you, if people were interested in finding out more about that stuff, I'm just going to put a link in the description to your course offerings so people want to go over there. But you also have an email list, and you email fairly frequently. I've once, twice a week, once a week.
Yeah, and one to 3 or 4 times a week, usually 1 or 2 times. Yeah. Well, thanks for the plugs. If you go to the site, fatsucksblog.com, you will get bombarded with sign-up forms, so you won't even miss them.
And so this surprises me, though, that you have, this massive business, that through display ads, and you have courses and you have students, and then you just got started really trying to build your YouTube channel. Like, what's that about?
Oh, it's really, well, I mean, I'm like 10 years late to the party. Okay. YouTube is clearly probably the best way to build exposure in this particular vertical. I mean, some of the channels out there are huge. I guess people much prefer videos. And so, and I think there's this personal element, you sort of get to know someone a little bit more, at least you feel you do, when you see them on video and you watch maybe 5 or 6 of their videos, like, oh, okay, I like them, or, I see where they're coming from. Whereas if it's just written text, it's sort of like you're just some anonymous person behind the text. So I sort of came around and understood the benefit of video. The exposure is a lot better. I think you can grow videos a lot faster than blog posts as well. My reluctance until recently to do it is, well, I didn't have any equipment, so I bought some. But I'm not particularly good at video. So if you go to the channel, like, there are much better YouTube personalities out there, but I think I can actually provide some okay information, and that's my goal. And if I can do that, then so be it. That's good enough for me.
So if somebody from this channel was thinking about going and subscribing to your channel, can you tell them a little bit maybe about your content plan going forward? Like, what could they expect to look for? Like, why should they go and subscribe to your channel?
Oh, really? Fat Sucks Blog's always been about profiling what I'm doing with my niche sites. It's not about what I'm doing with Fat Stacks. That's a separate entity altogether. Once in a while, I'll talk about that. But generally speaking, it's about what I'm doing with niche sites. So things evolve. I try to do case studies, what's working, what's not, and so forth. And really, that's what it is. It's just profiling what I'm doing with my niche sites on an ongoing basis. That's what the blog posts, the email newsletter, podcast, and YouTube channel.
Well, ultimately, honestly, I think that's why your channel and your email list is really ideal for the people who follow this channel, my channel, because that's pretty much what I am doing too, but at not as the level you are at. I'm doing it from my level, being in this for, basically the first year and a half, and you're 5 and some years ahead of me. Maybe I would aspire to be where you are in a couple of years, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted to connect you with this channel, because I do think that the people who are following this channel for those things would get a lot, like I do, out of your channel because of the case studies. Because I don't need a talking head that entertains me. Okay, I don't need like the bells and whistles. Like, I want somebody who's in the trenches, who's actually doing it, and then showing me, their mistakes or what works and what doesn't, because I get a lot of value from that. So I just want to tell you to keep doing that, please.
Okay.
And before you go, I actually saw you posted something about the negative feedback that you've gotten from people, and that you have found a way finally to get over yourself and not be bothered by it. But you actually had somebody who took the time to leave you a comment that said, "You need a drink of water, dude." That really happened?
Yeah, I know. I still laugh at it. It's true, though. I am trying to improve this was a long time ago, actually. I screen share videos, but yeah, it was pretty funny. Anyway, I'm trying to. I'm not a natural sort of performer, so I should say. But yeah, that was pretty funny.
All right.
I can only laugh at it. That's all right.
My neighbors are trying to get a hold of me. They're trying to tell me this interview is over. Did you hear the doorbell through that? The doorbell just
That's it.
Well, thank you so much, Jon, for agreeing to come on here and let me poke at you and ask you questions. It's been a lot of fun, and I am going to tell everybody to go over and subscribe to your channel because I can't wait for your next case study or whatever it is. And there's just a ton of value over there, and it's free. You know, that's the email, like all that stuff is all free, and it's a great place to be. So. Hey, it's just me again. I see that you either let this run all the way through or you watched it. And if you watched it, thank you so much. Holy cow, what an endeavor. It's more than an hour long. If you got value out of this, let me know what it is that you thought was good or that was new or interesting, and let us know. And let's have a conversation in the comments about anything that you might think is worthwhile to chat about. And again, I'm going to just tell everybody, hit the the like button or leave a comment or share this or something so that we can try and raise the profile of this video as much as possible so that we can get as many people to see it. And again, check the description for links to the blog where you can sign up for Jon's email, or I'll leave the link to his YouTube channel. Please go over there and subscribe. He was a total gem to come on to the channel and put up with me for an hour. And I went to his blog and I looked at how much it costs to talk to him for an hour, and it usually costs $600. He basically gave us $600 worth of value for free just to hang out and chat here on YouTube. So the least I can do is try to get him some new subscribers over on his YouTube channel. Hey everybody, as always, thank you so much for watching and for supporting me and this channel, and I look forward to what sort of shenanigans we can come up with next as we talk about buying, building, growing, income producing websites. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.